Hi, I'm Ryan Lafferty, and I'd like to take this opportunity to give a special welcome to the new teachers in our district, and another welcome to our current faculty members who are just viewing this presentation for the first time. These slides are intended to discuss our teacher evaluation system, so let's get started. Well, where did it all begin? Teach NJ, a 2012 law that was all about teacher effectiveness and accountability in order to make our teachers accountable and grow to meet the needs of our students. It's always our top priority, always trying to improve. We want to be lifelong learners, always improving just like we want for our students. And what did this introduce? Well, different measures for student achievement. And those are part and parcel of what we use as our observation instrument. And of course, multiple observations throughout the year. And we will have those. I'll discuss them shortly. It also added an additional year to tenure track, which made it from 3 years in a day to 4 years in a day, and added a mentor and some formative observations that didn't really count toward tenure. They weren't summative or punitive, just a way to help the new teachers grow. And the one thing that I really wanted to mention here was the training for the observers. In our district, the observers, our administrators, have specific requirements, criteria that they're looking for. And as we'll break it down, you'll see that these are listed as evidence, but they have to discuss this evidence with at least another peer or two before they're able to memorialize them in your observation report before they sit down and discuss them with you. So let's talk about that. Before we go there, the goal of raising student achievement, of course, is something that I think we all can agree on. And this depended upon providing specific feedback to educators. Feedback to educators and also feedback from teachers. And this was to identify areas for growth, key areas to concentrate for growth with the teacher, and to guide that professional development so that our teachers are always growing and becoming better and better at what they do. And this also informed personnel decisions. This is part of the tenure hiring track and also for job sustainability. So Achieve NJ, initiative-based state law, required calculating and monitoring student growth objectives, SGOs, not every teacher's favorite acronym because it requires a lot of calculating and a lot of planning, but these are pretty standard steps. And you're going to choose two to start with in our district after discussing with our administrators. If you're an English language arts teacher, say, there will be reading SGO and a writing SGO. In math, they have their own set of SGOs as well. These can be complex data points or simple, and you can discuss that in more detail with your department head. It observes student growth, placing them in categories of starting out, taking a baseline reading of low, medium, and high, and then tracking how many of them will meet the targeted growth. And of course, this will be added into your calculation of how well you performed. Another portion is the professional development plans, and we'll talk about this. This is created and tracked with evidence that you are going to collect throughout the year. So this is from Achieve NJ, but it is exactly how our system works. Scale from 1 to 4, ineffective, partial, effective, and highly effective. And they're added together, and this is one for a math or an ELA teacher because it has this extra piece, the student growth percentile, which is based on the previous year's work. So new teachers will not have this number for their first year, but once you have data to compare to the state, you will be able to include this in your total summative rating. So teacher practice plus student growth objectives, how did you perform with those calculations, adding this to ELA and 4 to 7 math equals summative rating. These are what we call the tested subjects. So, yes, there are state-approved models. I'm not going to dwell on these. We do not use any of them. In fact, when this came out, we chose to develop our own. So we have a customized one, which we have been refining ever since. And it's actually a really huge benefit for us because we're always improving it for our needs and always trying to make it more clear on how to improve our teachers' performance and ways to be more effective. And you'll see that very shortly. It aligns with those laws, but our instrument is uniquely our own. For our observations, the tenured teachers have 2 observations, one announced, one unannounced, and a summative meeting to talk about at the end. SGOs are not required for our tenured teachers. They can use previous year's ratings. If, of course, they are not happy with those, they can do another SGO, and if they like that outcome, they can stick with that one in the years to come. We don't know how long this moratorium on SGOs for tenured teachers will be in effect, but it has been in effect for the last 2 years. Non-tenured teachers have 3 observations, 1 announced, 2 unannounced, and a summative meeting. And yes, they must calculate their student growth objectives. Our district's customized model is an observation tool, and it's evidence-based. And here you can see it's based on 4 domains: planning and preparing, lesson implementation, classroom management, and professional responsibilities. And it goes from 1 through 4. Yeah. So moving in, just to take a closer look, the checklist for highly effective criteria examples is here. So if it's effective, and then how to get to highly effective. All the teachers really want to know this, although per the administrators in our talks and our interviews, they say effective is where you really ideally want to be. And honestly, if you're ineffective or partially effective in something, any movement to the right is going to be a gain for you. So have a growth mindset. Don't only try to be to the end, the highest level, because sometimes every lesson, everything isn't always highly effective, and you'll see how we break it down. Here there's evidence that's associated, and these are collected and memorialized during the observation. And then here are ways to get to the next level. So it's all meant to be part of a conversation with the administrator on how we can grow, what we think works, and what we think we can do better. And it's always better if that comes from the teacher. The administrator is a guide, and of course they can give you recommendations, but I think more often than not they're interested, well, per our discussions and our conversations, in what you think you can improve and ways that you might tackle the challenges you're facing. So our first domain, planning and preparing, applying knowledge, and you can see the breakdown here. The evidence will be hidden at first. You can click that link and it will show you all of the memorialized evidence that's collected. And of course, you can see how you score. Planning and coherent instruction. Move on to the next one. Designing and analyzing assessments. You can see here I revealed some of the evidence, and these are where they saw. This is what they observed, and they observed something here for highly effective. Moved me into that lane here. Didn't have it. These were not checked. So students were not involved in the design and analysis of assessments. So in order to get this one, your students must be included in the design for assessments. Now this could be you on a study guide asking them to help develop the ideal test question, and the best one gets extra points or something like this. I've seen that done. But either way, including your students in the actual assessment process was needed to get to that highly effective for design and analysis of assessment. And your teacher can talk to the administrator, and the administrator can give you feedback on how to get there. So here we have purpose, learning target, lesson implementation. All the evidence is revealed here. Accessing prior knowledge, all that higher level stuff. Interaction with application of knowledge. Moving into more of the feedback, of course, giving clear, consistent feedback to the students. Cognitive engagement, classroom routines and procedures, interaction with the students. These are all classroom management. And of course, after all is said and done, you will be able to give feedback and to offer evidence as documents, so attaching them here. And it's not only just there for you as an option, it's really expected for you. If you want to candidly talk about your lesson and what you did and what they may not have seen, well, it's essential that you include it here, that you actually talk to the administrator about it. When I sat and discussed this with them, they they need to hear candid, discourse about what you did and how they might have missed something, because they're only walking in for that one observation, and they may have missed something. They could have been typing at the time. So this is the place to make your case, and they invite it. They think it's an essential part of the process, and the system is designed to have you be heard. It is not a negative, and it's not viewed as a strike against you. It's always a conversation. In fact, we worked with the Academic Advisory Committee to have cheat sheets for the administrators and for the teacher to sit and use to have a conversation on how we can do better, and maybe ways that evidence wasn't presented, or how it might have looked, and how they might have missed it. So this is an essential part of the process. SGOs are then scored and completed, and then signed, to be added as documentation, and they look like this. Very simple. And then they're done. The last portion is the PDP, but very important, professional development plan. As we're growing, we want to be mindful of our growth and have a clear and direct plan for building our professional capacity. So here we're looking at goals, rationales, strengths. These are district level, there's department level, and then there's individual level. So as we go, they're looking for evidence. So you add your evidence in here, you add your own goals, you can pick them from a list, you can make up your own, and then you add in evidence all throughout the year that describes what you did and how you did it. I still have down here, it's still waiting to be put in because that part of the year is not yet progressed. Standards of professional learning, your goals. And then there's a place to reflect, and this is where they want a candid, unvarnished account of what you did, how you did it, what you think worked, what didn't work, and what you think you'll do next year to tackle these problems. So for district goal, department goal, and individual goal and reflection. So as we're wrapping it up here, part of the teacher summative evaluation, if you noticed back on these slides, there was no Domain 4. Domain 4 was all about your professional responsibilities, and that's where this comes into play. These professional responsibilities are essential, and all this evidence is what's used in your summative. That, and of course, your professional development hours. The district logs all of the dates that they have. They account for the state requirement of hours, but you can always add more, and your extracurricular involvements and anything above and beyond that you do can be listed here as well. So, updates, recent changes in Teach NJ and Achieve NJ. I mean, we don't know how long the SGOs are going to have a moratorium for the tenured teachers. There was a movement to eliminate them, but this is far afield. And there are calls for recalibration of the system to focus more on growth and intentional practices rather than just purely these numbers. I end with this quote from Danielson, whose model has taken the nation by storm and is the top model that's the most predominantly used in schools in New Jersey. And she says that she's troubled by the transformation of teaching from a complex profession requiring nuanced judgment and performance to just being ticking off boxes on a checklist. She says that I and others in the academic and policy communities believe it's time for major rethinking of how we structure teacher evaluation to make sure that teachers as professionals can benefit from the opportunities and refine their craft. Here are some references. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me or any other teacher leaders, and of course your administrators. Thank you so much for your time. And good luck with your observations.